Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be covering top 3 basics Python lists. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and like this video if you find it helpful. The topics we'll be covering today are what are lists and how you can declare them, what is slicing in list, and what are the common Python inbuilt methods that we can use to manipulate data in the list. What is a list in Python? It is an ordered collection of items of various data types. Items in a list can be changed, so it is a mutable object, and it can contain duplicate items. So we can have the same items repeated multiple number of times in lists, unlike in tuples and sets. Now we are in the Python shell, and I'll show you the simplest method to declare a list. Let me create a variable mylist, and list starts and ends with curly braces. So we are going to mention some data in the list. So it can have multiple data types, so I will mix it up with strings and integers. Let's print it. So now we can see that this is how we can create a list. We can check the type as well. It belongs to the list data type. We can also use the list constructor to create a list is by declaring the list via the list constructor. So we'll create a variable mylist and we'll call the list constructor and pass in the values here. World 1, 2, 3. Let's print it. And it contains the data that we have passed in through the list constructor. Now, how can we iterate through the values of a list? List data type is an iterable, so if we can use a simple iterative for loop and iterate through all the values of the list, we do it in a separate file. Lists. Let's run it. We have to declare this. One. So it iterates through each and every value in the list. We will be covering what is slicing in lists. Let's print out my list to see what it contains. It has 3 variables. Now we can access any index on the list using the index number. So if I have to print this, it should return the value at index 1. All indices in Python start with 0. So hello is in the 0th position and world is in the 1st position, which is 1. So it will print out world. Now we can print out a range of values using the technique of slicing. So let's take my list. And if I want to print out only hello and world and I do not want to print 1, 2, 3, then I can use the technique 0 because it starts from the 0th index and world is the 1st index, but 2. It is always going to be last index minus 1. So that is why I am setting it as 2. So it will take minus 1. So hence it will take the first index. So it prints hello and world. Let me add a few more values to this list. And 2, 4. Now my list is a little longer and it will be easier to explain in slicing. So instead of writing 0:2, I can also get the same result and return only the first 2 values by not mentioning the first 0 index. So I can just use colon and 2. This automatically implies that it starts from the beginning of the list, which is the 0th position. So it prints the same data. Similarly, we can also access items in the list using negative indexes. So let's see. If I do -1, it is going to give me the last value from the list, which is 234. In case of negative indices, the list is read from backwards and the indices start from -1. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4. So let's try and see what is there in -3. So it will print world. We can also specify the last value. So if I want to slice from my first index, so 1, and till the end of the list. So I do not need to specify anything after the colon. If nothing is specified, it automatically means that all items till the end of the list will be printed. So I should be getting word 123 and 234. So word 123 and 234. Slicing is a very powerful tool. It has a lot of use in data science and other list processing. So it is my advice that you keep on trying various examples and see how it works instead of just watching the video. It might seem a little confusing, but you have to do it hands-on to get the hang of it. Next, we have what are the commonly used inbuilt functions already present in Python, and that is allows for manipulation of lists and list data. So some of the common ones are listed below, and we will be covering them one by one. Let's create a list. Let's print it out. So we have these values in the list. Now if I want to add any value to the end of the list, I will be using the append function. My list, the number 67. Now if I print it, it will show the number 67 added on at the end. Then we have the insert function, which inserts data at a specific index. So I want to insert a new value at index number 1, which is this one. So let's use the insert function. So index 1, and let me put the value of new. And a typo. Let's see what my list looks like. So here at index number 1, we have the value of new. Next is clear. It removes all the elements from the list. So I will be discussing this at the end. So let's discuss remove before that. So my list dot remove. This will remove the new value that I inserted. So it takes an index, and I will need to pass the value new, and it always removes the first occurrence. So if there are duplicates in this list, then it will always remove the first occurrence. So it should now remove the value new. So yes, new is no longer present. Next up, we have pop. It removes and also returns the data. If you're familiar with algorithms and data structures, you will know that pop is a common function of a stack. It behaves very similarly in Python lists as well. So my list dot pop. If you do not pass any data, let's print. If you do not pass any data here, then it will automatically pop the last value. But you can also pass a specific index. Let's look at the list now. It does not have 67 anymore because it has already been popped out. Now let's pass a specific index dot pop. If I want to say pop the first index, so it will return the value hello. So let's look at my list. It no longer has hello in it. So it has popped out the first index. So using pop, if without any arguments, it will pop out the last value. And if you're using any argument, any index value, then it will pop out the value at that index. Then we have delete. This also deletes all the items in the list. So I'll be doing this at the end. Let's check out sort. So let's create a list 2 and we'll pass in some jumbled numbers. List 2 dot sort. And let's print out list 2. All the numbers here are now sorted. Fairly simple function. And we have reverse. We'll just reverse the data in the list. Let's redeclare this list. Let's look at list 2. It contains the jumbled values of numbers. Now we will use the reverse function. So all the data has got reversed. Up next we have the count and we have length. So difference between count and length is length returns the length of the list. So if there are duplicates, it will just simply return the list of all the elements in the list. Count returns a count of the items with a specific data in the list. So if there are duplicates, then you can use the count function to see how many of those items are present. Oops, incorrect way of calling. So we'll have to pass len my list. It returns 13 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So exactly the number of items on the list that will be returned by the len function. So let's check the value of maybe 5. So it returns 3 because it can see that 5 is present 3 times in the list. So that is the difference between len and count. Now let's use clear to clear the values on the list. Now if I look at my list, it is going to be empty. Let's redeclare the values on the list. So 78. Now we will use the del function. So it simply deletes the entire my list and it will no longer exist. So that is why it is showing me a name error saying that my list is not defined. These are the top 3 basic things you need to know about Python lists. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was helpful. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Bye.